Welcome back to Zucchima's Ridge Homestead. In today's video, we're going to talk about something you should never do with your tractor, and we're going to fix what happens when you do that. Stick around. Hello, and welcome to our channel.
We're glad you're here.
Well, I guess we'll start with a little backstory of what happened, what I did that I shouldn't have done, and the consequences of doing that. Out behind the small pasture, we've got a small grove of old pine trees. We believe the previous owner may have planted those as Christmas trees. They're real close together. The outside ring of trees is in not too bad a shape, but most of the trees in the middle are dead because they just have been shaded out. So I was back there with the tractor. They're dead enough that most of them, even up to a couple, 6-8 inches in diameter, I can just put the grapple up on the tree, push it over. For the most part, they'll uproot, hook the roots, pop them up, drag them out. One particular tree, when I pushed it over, it partially uprooted. I put the grapple into it to push, and when I did, it split the tree and left probably a 3 to 4 foot tall partial stump sticking out of the ground. So I drug the tree out, I started working on the stump with the grapple, and I wasn't able to get underneath it to push forward, so I thought, well, maybe I can grab it and pull it backwards. And therein lies the problem. I rolled the grapple all the way forward, opened it up, sat it on top of the stump, hooked the back of the stump with the grapple, and pulled backwards with the tractor. Well, in doing so, that puts your bucket cylinders or your grapple cylinders fully extended, which makes them kind of vulnerable. So when I pulled backwards, the right hand cylinder bent. I didn't notice it at first, kept working. I went to roll the grapple up. It rolled up so far and then kind of struggled a little bit and then went the rest of the way. Oh boy, that's odd. Am I losing hydraulic pressure? What's going on here? So I kept working, I rolled it forward, went to roll it back again, it got so far and it was struggling to go, and then it went. And I thought, boy, that's not right at all. So I rolled it forward, rolled it back a third time, and this time it got to a certain point and just stopped. It wouldn't go any further. So I laid it on the ground and put some boom pressure on it, got it to roll back all the way. And I think I may have rolled it forward one more time, and by then I realized what I had done. I noticed that the cylinder on the right side was bent. So I took the cylinder apart, took the rod out. And I think you can kind of see the bend in it. It starts right about here and kind of gradually goes all the way to the end. And I believe that this threaded portion has also got a bend to it. So I took it out, thought, well, I could probably straighten that. We've straightened air cylinders at work. You put them in the press, you put some pressure on them, straighten them out, go a hair past, it sets it in there and you're good to go. So I put this in my little 20-ton Harbor Freight press. I was pushing down on it, got it pretty straight, let off, the bow came back. So I put it in there again, pushed down again, got it straight, thought, okay, I need to go a hair past to set that in there. Went a hair past and bang, it went flying. Luckily this piece went away from me into the wall because of course I'm on the ground, knelt down. Never buy peacocks, they're so annoying. I was bent down at face level like this when I was pushing the cylinder down, so when it blew, it went like this, right at face level. So that could have been a lot worse than it was. Expensive, but at least I didn't get injured. So now I've ordered the new cylinder, a new piston, and a rebuild kit. We'll go ahead and fix this cylinder and get this tractor back in operation. Okay, here's all of our parts. There's our old broken cylinder, or rod. There's the new rod. I've already taken the grease fitting out of the old rod and put it in the new one. We've got the end of the cylinder. I don't know, it might be called a gland. This is the seal part. We'll change all the seals in this. They came in the kit. There's a lock ring here. This is what goes inside the tube that holds the gland in position. We have the piston, which I had a lot of difficulty getting off. I don't know if you can see up inside of there the scratches, and on the outside where I had to use channel locks to try and get it off. That's why I think that threaded section was bent as well, because this was so difficult to get off. So I bought a replacement one of those, and these are the seals that go on the piston. Those are in the kit as well, and we will reuse the nut that holds the piston onto the rod. Our new parts, there's the new piston, and our rebuild kit contains the seals for the piston, the new lock ring, so we'll move that out of the way, and these 4 seals will be what goes in the gland. Okay, we'll start with the gland. There appears to be an O-ring and a backing ring, which would be these 2, and then down inside you've got these 2 somewhat lip seals. So we'll start with a pick here, and we'll remove the outer O-ring and the backing ring. And we'll need to remember that the backing ring goes on the top, because this would be the top end of the cylinder. So it goes backing ring, O-ring. And then these seals. Okay, the top seal is this one. Sorry. And the down inside seal's the thicker one that also has like an integral backing ring, and by the fact that I was hooked into that, I'm going to say the backing ring goes down on this one. Sorry, I keep getting out of the camera there. So we'll start with well, let me wipe this thing off first and get it cleaned up. Okay, now that's cleaned up, we'll take our first seal, stick it down in there. Get it in that groove. Being careful not to tear it or do any damage to it. Get up in there. Just about. If you can see down in there, I've got it in, but it's got a little crinkle on the one side over here. Yeah, let me get this in there correctly, and we'll start again. Well, that was certainly a ride on the struggle bus. And I just did the one thing that I hate in videos that I watch is, oh, here, I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to do it off camera, and then you just go ahead and do it. But there was really no way to get in there to show you that, and I'll explain what I had to do. This two-piece seal, the top part is like a regular lip seal. It's got a groove in it where a spring would normally go, and then it's got this piece which pops up inside of that groove, which helps hold the seal open. When you try and get it down in there and manipulate it, this inner seal is pretty soft and this outer seal is kind of stiff. So they want to flex at different rates. You could get one in and then the other one would pop out, and vice versa. So what I ended up doing was I took the harder lip seal part, went ahead and got it in the groove, pulled it to the top of the groove where it should sit. I took the smaller seal and wedged it as much as I could in there, took my pick and carefully went underneath the lip of the top seal and pulled that lip out to let this inner seal slide up behind it, and just kind of worked my way gently around the seal until it popped in there. So that seal's in, and it's not easy to get in there, being that two-piece and different hardnesses of rubber that don't want to work together very well. So that seal is in. Now we'll do the outer seal. Same basic thing, but this is only a single piece, so it should just pop right in there. Which it did. That one went right in. Then we've got our flat backing ring. Which goes in there. And then our O-ring. This might be easier with a hook so I don't stab myself. And there we go. So we've got our backing ring and our O-ring seal. We've got our dust seal on the end and our seal down inside. So the gland is ready to go. This will need to go on the cylinder before we do the piston. So we'll have to put the spanner nut on. We'll go ahead and just stick it on the gland for the time being so it doesn't flop around. And suppose I should probably put a little bit of hydraulic oil in here before I slide this on so it's not going on dry. So let me do that real quick. Okay, now we'll slide that up on there. Now we will start on the piston. I know this piece is like kind of like a hard plastic. It's got a little flex to it, so we'll just pop that around, snap it in the groove. And now this one's interesting. It's like a hard plastic ring, but it has an O-ring embedded inside of it. So we'll have to gently work that onto the piston here without popping that O-ring out of the plastic. Okay, that seemed to pop in there just fine. Now we will reinstall this on the end. To be honest with you, I don't remember offhand which way this went, but by looking at my old piston where the chewed up part is, I know that was on the end, so it goes on this way. Yeah. That's definitely bent because this just slides right on and off. On that one, like you can see, I had to tear it off. So we will put our nut on here. I'll take this over to the impact, put that on nice and tight, and then we'll move over to the tractor and reinstall this rod in the cylinder. Okay, we're back over at the tractor. Got the nut good and tight. I used an 1 1/8" impact socket on this. I imagine it's probably metric, which I believe 1 1/8" is 32. I'm not 100% positive on that, but 1 1/8" worked just fine. Ran that down good and tight. I went ahead and put some oil on these, and we're ready to put this back together. So we'll start by working this piston in there. Easier said than done. Went and grabbed a real big rubber mallet. That's having it pop right down in there. Take the spanner nut off, and we'll put the gland in there. Let me grab a brass drift to drive this in. Now, I didn't get to show taking this apart, but inside of here, there's a groove that round ring snaps into. It seats right in here on the gland. This part of the gland is too thick to allow that ring to come out. So you have to force the gland down in deeper to where the threaded portion is in line with that groove in order to get that snap ring out. And I also, on this side of the cylinder, I drilled a small hole so that I could get a punch in there to push that ring out, because I couldn't get it to move with just, it's maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch gap in there. It's very tight and very hard to get a pick in there. So by drilling this hole, I was able to pop that ring out, and it appeared that there was a punch mark where I needed to drill, almost like the cylinder was pre-set up to drill a hole there. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was a punch mark in the cylinder right there, and I drilled at that punch mark, and it came out perfect to popping that ring out. So let me get my brass drift so we can drive this this gland down in there, and we'll put a ring in, put the spanner nut on, and get it all tightened up. Okay, I've driven that gland in to where the threads are just barely sticking out. I'll get that wire snap ring, get it popped in there. Yeah, I'm pretty confident one of these days I'm going to take one of those picks and go right through my hand with it. So we'll try a screwdriver instead. Tell you what, this spring wire they've got this made out of means business. It's some pretty stiff stuff. Okay, there it is. It's down in. Appears to be snapped into the groove. So now I'm going to pull on the cylinder because I don't think. No, I'm not out far enough for my spanner wrench to catch those threads. So I'll draw my cylinder down, which should bring that gland out to where I can get these threads on. Okay, the end of this, the piston is now on the gland. And I've got probably 4 threads sticking out. So I can start my spanner nut on here. There we go. Now we just need to get big channel locks on there to tighten that up, and we'll be good to go. The way this system works is the gland is in there. That ring goes in the groove. This spanner nut pulls the gland forward to seat it on that ring. That way it can't come off. It's kind of, at first it was counterintuitive for me that this is coming off and it's on the outside. What's holding the gland in? It took a minute to figure out it had that snap ring in there. But that's how it works. So let me get the big channel locks. We'll tighten this up. Hook the bottom end of the cylinder back onto the loader or onto the grapple, and put the hoses back on, fire this thing up, and see if it works. Suppose I should mention I got all my parts from Messick's. They've got a big business there in a couple places in Pennsylvania. They've got an awesome website. I just went on. I went to New Holland, or went to Online Parts, New Holland. The little New Holland thing comes up, and you type in your equipment. So I typed in, let's see, this is a 7308 or 7308 loader. The parts diagrams come up. Went to the cylinders. There's 2 different kinds of cylinders. This one is a Schwartz cylinder because it has this spanner nut on it. The other one I forget the name of. I didn't care because it's not what I had. Paid for them, and they were delivered within like 2 or 3 days. UPS. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, the gland is turning. So I may have to pressurize this cylinder to hold that gland in place to get this to tighten up. So we'll go ahead and put the pin in the bottom, put the hoses back on, put some hydraulic pressure on it, and see if I can get that nut to tighten. There's the pin that holds this into the, I'm saying grapple, but it's not the grapple, it's the skid steer adapter is what this goes on. Looks like we need to go up just a hair on the cylinder. Maybe a hair too far. There we go. Lock this pin in place. Grab 2 13mm to tighten that up. See, I just had these. Okay. One thing I do need to do, which I have not had the time to do, or the right sizes. As you can see, this cylinder slides back and forth. I should add shims. They make machine shims with a 1-inch diameter hole in them to take up this gap. All 4 of these spots on this skid steer adapter need that done. I do have some, but I have 1 thickness, and they're just, 1 is not enough on each side, and 2 is too much. So I need to get some thinner ones to do that. I can do a video when I do that to show you how to set these properly. But I've been running this about a year this way because I haven't gotten around to getting those bushings yet. Not a contributing factor to what happened though. So we will hook the hydraulic lines back up. And what I did was took both lines off, or took the one line all the way off and put this loop on here. So in case I had to run the tractor, I could, so it wouldn't leak hydraulic fluid. I did try to roll the bucket or the grapple up with this setup this way, but since it's just a straight flow from line to line, it wouldn't move the bucket. The grapple or the loader would go up and down, but it wouldn't curl the grapple because it's just a straight flow. So we'll pop this off of here. I guess before we do that, we've got to put our fittings back in the cylinder. We'll pop this off. This is the line. It'll come off of here and go to the bottom, and then the other hose will go on here and go to the top. I don't think you need to watch me do that. It's pretty simple stuff. So I'll put the two elbows back in, reconnect this hose, put the other hose back on, and then we'll turn the camera back on, start this up, and see if it works, leaks, and if I can get this to tighten back up. Sorry, I went to start filming there and the camera battery had died. We've got it all back together. We put the pin in, which we saw, put the two elbows in. Just as a note, the body of the elbow is a 19mm wrench, and the nut that locks it down was a 22. I've reinstalled the hoses on here. Again, the hoses are a 22, and the fitting on the line down here, to back that up, I used a 7/8 wrench. I believe 13/16 will also work in place of the 22. So let's go ahead and start this thing up and see if it'll move and see if we leak fluid anywhere. Okay, works no problem. I don't see any fluid leaking anywhere, which is good. See if I can get that to move or not. I did run it both ends and put full hydraulic pressure on it to see if it was going to leak, and it didn't look like it did. Okay, the spanner is turning, and the gland at this point is not, so that's good. Okay, seems to be good and tight. We're just about, the nut's about flush with the end of the gland. It's pretty much the same thing we've got on the other cylinder, so that must be good. I'd call this a successful repair. Again, you do never ever want to pull backwards on your bucket or your grapple or whatever attachment you have on here with these cylinders fully extended. The bent cylinder, I probably could have taken that rubber mallet we had and passed it between the cylinder and the loader body. Right now, both cylinders are in contact with the loader body. So it was bent. I mean, it was up here. It was bent pretty severely. Fortunately, I only bent one. Believe it or not, this little rod cost me $325. That piston, I believe, was like $78 maybe, and the seal kit was, I believe, in the 20s. Total bill with shipping was like $470. So this was just shy of a $500 mistake. These older tractors, it could be an issue. The cylinder body is no longer available. The cylinder as a unit is no longer available. The piston in here is actually a superseded part number. So the actual piston in here is not available. So it's, you know, this tractor I think is like an 82 maybe, something like that. So as your tractors get older, the parts are getting harder to find. I'm just thankful for Messick's. They're not a sponsor of the channel in any way, shape, or form.
They do have their own YouTube channel that they got some pretty good videos out. But as far as a part source goes, they're indispensable. I've got a New Holland dealer 5 miles from the house, and I'm pretty sure I got these parts quicker through Messick's than I would have if I'd have went down there and ordered them through them. So they're an awesome source for parts. I know they do New Holland, Kubota, and a whole myriad of tractors and implements. So, you know, free advertisement for them. They're a great company. But there we go. It's fixed. I can get back to doing some work again. Maybe I can take the camera back and film some of what we're doing back there. We're actually putting a shooting range in and doing some other clearing work. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section below. I'll try to do my best to answer them for you. Other than that, you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.